Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving break. Well, today, I'm going to tell you my life story. You're going to see me move around a lot because I can't stand in one place for very long before the pain becomes too bad in my legs. So if I'm moving a lot, try to keep up with me, okay? So, I'm going to tell you my life story. And what I want to do today is answer 4 questions. The first question is, does God truly exist? Does God really perform miracles in our life? And does He have a purpose? Does He have a plan for our lives? And the 4th question, only you can answer. And the question is, are you truly thankful for the things God has given you? And we'll get into that in just a little bit. When I was 18 months old, my oldest sister had to take me and my 2 other sisters and run next door because my mom's boyfriend was literally trying to kill me. Okay? 18 months old. By the time I was 2, the court ordered us to go live with my dad and my stepmom. Now that should have been a good thing, but it wasn't. When I was 3 years old, I was taken to the doctor, and the doctor told my parents I would never be able to run or play sports like other kids. You see, my feet would turn all the way in, so when I would run, I would literally fall down. I had to wear braces on my legs. How many of you seen the movie Forrest Gump? Run, Forrest, run, right? Those braces that Forrest wore in that movie, that's what I had to wear. From my feet up past my knees on both legs. And I would wear that for 2 years. When I was 5.5 years old, the braces came off. By the time I was 7, I was not only running, I was averaging 40 miles a week. I was traveling the country running AAU Junior Olympics track and field and cross country. You see, God had a plan, and I'll get to that in just a minute. As 2 years old, I was abused by my stepmom physically and mentally until I was 11, 12 years old. Okay, about the middle school age, which is about the age you are now. And for some unbeknown reason that we cannot figure out, my dad took over the abuse at that point. I was abused from the time I was 12 to the day I left home, physically, and extreme mental abuse until the day I left after graduation. The reason I told you the story about the braces is, if it wasn't for school and sports, I don't think I would have survived those years. You see, I played every sport that the school had to offer. I participated in just about every activity the school had to offer. Everything I could do to stay away from home. Okay? Now, I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior when I was 14 years old. And I prayed every single day that God would take me out of that situation. I prayed so hard that God would take me away. I didn't care how He did it. I don't care if He took my life. I didn't care if He took me away. I even prayed that He would take my dad away. But that never happened. You see, God has a plan, and we go through things, sometimes we don't really know why at the time. You see, and I'm ashamed to say this, but for many years in high school, and all the time, I would think about committing suicide, taking my own life. I spent so much time thinking about it that I knew exactly how I would do it. Now here was the problem. My dad told me every name in the book, told me I was a coward, told me I was a loser, told me I would never be anything. Okay? Now, he even told me one time that I wasn't good enough to be his son, because nothing was ever good enough. First place was the only place. It didn't matter if we set a new personal record. It didn't matter what happened. First place was the only place. Okay? Now, the sad part about that story is you start to believe the things that you're being told. So I was depressed and really upset because I was so saddened and I was so upset because I was such a coward that I couldn't even take my own life. That's pretty sad. I started to believe everything that my dad had been telling me. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't brave enough to take my own life even. Okay? I now know as an adult that those thoughts that kept me from taking my own life was God protecting me. Okay? Now, God has always been protecting me. Here's the funny part of the story. You remember that little boy that was 2 years old, that was abused from the time he was 2 to the time he was 12, about your age? You see, I don't remember that. God took every bit of that away from me. I have no memory of any abuse up to 12 years of age. But I also have no memory of school. I have no memory of sports. I have no memory of holidays. I have no memory of summers, birthdays. Every bit of it is gone, as if I was born when I was 12 years old. Now, my stepmom has asked for forgiveness on multiple occasions. Okay? Now, I'm telling you, through the grace of God and God alone, not only have I been able to forgive her, but to this day, we have a good relationship. So God has always been protecting me. What little information I do know about my abuse comes from my sisters, from asking questions, but they won't give me much information. You see, my family believes that God has taken those memories away because He's protecting me. Because He says, basically, if you don't know, it can't hurt you. So the memories would be too bad, and maybe I couldn't handle it. So God is always protecting me. So let's fast forward to high school. The day after I graduated high school, I left home. For the next 18 months, I would spend my time getting different jobs, went to school for a little while, made a lot of mistakes in this game we call life. At 20 years of age, I finally decided and figured out what I wanted to do. I joined the United States Air Force. I was excited. I had hopes, I had dreams, I had goals. November 1992, I go to Lackland Air Force Base, San Antonio, Texas, start basic training. 4 weeks into basic training, tragedy strikes. I'm out participating in a training drill one day. The very next second, I wake up, I'm in an ambulance on the way to the emergency room. I had no idea what happened. I passed out. After 3 days in a hospital and then running every test known to man, and a lot of them I didn't know you could actually run on a man, they came back to me and said, "We need your family." 2 days later, they diagnosed me with myelodysplastic syndrome with ring sideroblast and refractory anemia. Say that 3 times really, really fast. But basically, I had myelodysplasia in a leukemia family, and my bone marrow was no longer producing blood cells. I had an advanced case, and they gave me approximately 6 months to live, December 1992, at 20 years of age. I got an immediate honorable discharge. 2 weeks later, I'm at Scott and White Hospital in Temple, Texas, undergoing all of the same tests, hoping for a different diagnosis. Unfortunately, after several tests were ran, they come back. Same diagnosis, myelodysplasia, approximately 6 months to live. I left that hospital, depressed, and to spend the next 3 weeks of my life basically going from one doctor's appointment to the next doctor's appointment to the next doctor's appointment, basically numb to the world. Basically already decided that I was dead. Okay? And I don't know how to tell you this. I don't know what happened really. But somewhere along the line, something changed. I woke up and I decided that I was going to fight to stay alive. So I went to a library, an actual library on my own, and checked out a bunch of books. Everything I could get my hands on that came to the human body. I studied it, I researched it, I looked at it, and everything kept coming back with one basic concept. I needed more oxygen in my body. And the only way to get oxygen naturally in your body is through exercise. Now, for most people, this is not a problem. For me, I could not walk more than 2 minutes before I felt like I was going to pass out. But I had made up my mind that I was going to do whatever it took to survive. So I immediately started exercising. I got on an exercise bike, and I would go 2, maybe 3 minutes before I felt like I was going to pass out. And I would do that 2 to 3 times a day, okay? And I would do it 7 days a week until eventually I built up where I could go 15 to 20 minutes. And I did that for 18 months of my life. And at 18 months, I was tired. I was physically tired and mentally tired. I didn't know if I could keep going. So I had done more research, and I came across a bone marrow transplant. At that time, it was very, very rare. This is 1993, 1994, when I studied all this stuff, okay? So I finally decided I'm going to go to my doctor. And I go to my doctor, and I ask him about a bone marrow transplant. He looks at me, and he tells me 3 things. He says, "Why would you want to do something? I'm so amazed at what you've accomplished in the last 18 months. You just need to keep doing what you're doing." And I looked at him, and I told him, I'm not living. I can't hang out with my friends. I can't go to school. I can't go to work. I can't do anything without stepping outside my house wearing a mask. Okay? One infection puts me back in the hospital. So I can't do anything. I was tired. And here's the deal. I told you I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior. I wasn't afraid to die. Death was never a fear for me. I know where I'm going. Now, how you die sometimes is what fears me. but not where I'm going. So I told him, I'm not scared. I'll go through it. Number two, he told me that finding a match for a bone marrow transplant, I had less than a 10% chance. And number three, which was probably his downfall, he told me I was not strong enough to survive a bone marrow transplant. You don't tell me I'm not going to do something. I grew up that way, and I'll do whatever it takes to prove you the other way. So basically, I told him, I want you to run the test. And he said, well, I just don't think it's a good idea. So I said, either run the test or I'll find somebody who will run the test. So we ran the test. Now, when you do a bone marrow transplant, they're looking for matches. In a bone marrow, it's antigens, okay? So there's 6 antigens in your bone marrow. They have to have a minimum of 4 out of 6 before they will even think about letting you have a transplant. They really want 5 and 6. So the odds of finding that was less than 10%, correct? So they checked my 3 sisters. Now, 2 out of my 3 sisters came back as perfect, 6 out of 6 antigen matches. Somebody was looking out for me. Okay? They ran further tests, and they decided on one of my sisters. And the doctor told us that the odds of one of them being 6 for 6 was less than 1%. Just bear with me. Okay, so now I'm on my way. January 2nd, 1995. I'm meeting with my oncologist and my transplant doctor. I remember these 2 documents I had to sign. The first document stated that bone marrow transplantation was experimental science and the chance of survival was less than 10%. The second document stated that if I survived the transplant and if I survived long term, that I would have more side effects and more complications than I already had. Now, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I looked at my doctors and I said to them, what is worse than 6 months to live over 2 years ago? So nothing worse can happen to me. I've already survived 18 months longer than he told me I would. So I say, let's go for it. So January 5th, 1995, the day I'm admitted into the transplant ward. The transplant ward is very, very small. You see, one infection can kill you. So only 7 people can do a transplant at a time. So we're admitted at the same day, same time. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. I'm walking down the hallway, going to my room with my team of doctors and nurses. And in the end of the hallway, there's 4 stationary bikes. And I asked them if they could move a stationary bike into my bedroom, which is what I called it back then, because that was basically where I lived, my whole living space. The doctor looked at me like I was crazy. He told me, son, you don't know what's about to happen to you. You are not going to be able to get out of bed. And I told him, we can either move it now, or when you leave, I'm going to come back out and get the bike and move it in there. So they moved the bike into my room. Okay? Now, he wasn't lying about one thing. I didn't know what I was getting into. Okay? Now, the bike story becomes very important in just a minute. But when you have a transplant, they have to destroy and eradicate your entire bone marrow. One trace of your bone marrow left in your body, it's over. So you go through 7 days of the most intense chemotherapy, radiation, and other drugs that the human being, the body can even survive. Okay? Because one trace, it's over. Within 2 weeks of being in that hospital, I told you 7 of us went in. 2 people didn't make it 2 weeks. That's how intense it is. Within that 7 days, I lost all my hair. I was so weak I couldn't get out of bed by myself. I had no blood at all, period, nothing. I lived on blood transfusions. And I lived in a room, literally, that infiltrated air 24 hours a day, all the time, because one germ could kill me. If I had visitors come see me, they had to wear masks, gloves, stuff on their feet, gowns, and they were only allowed to stay for so long. That's how intense all this was. Back to my bike story. I rode that bike every day for 20 minutes, except for one day. Now, they were correct about one thing. I couldn't get out of bed on my own. So the nurses would come in every single morning, help me up on the bike, grab my IV poles and my cords and help me. I would ride that bike for 20 minutes. Now, I didn't ride it very fast, and some people would say I rode it pretty slow. But I don't care. I kept moving. That was the only thing in my world that I controlled, was that 20 minutes of that day. I had no idea what was going to happen the rest of the day, because the pain would take over everything else. The nurses would then come in, take me off the bike, clean me up, and put me back in my bed. That was my life for 4 months. Every single day, except for one. On this particular day, I woke up with a nosebleed. Remember, I had no platelets, no way to clot. Okay? So I had no platelets. I have my nose is bleeding like crazy. So it would take a team of doctors and nurses well over 2 hours to stop this nosebleed. I would almost pass out on multiple occasions. My doctor told me that if I would have passed out, I would have never been revived. He said, somebody is watching over you. I wonder who. I lived this way for 4 months. I walked out of the hospital weighing 118 pounds, 50 pounds lighter than the day I went in just 4 months ago, through all the drugs and the chemo and everything else I went on. I would then spend the next 2 years of my life fighting pain that I can't even explain to you, fighting to get off painkillers, fighting to get off drugs, fighting to get off prednisone, that were destroying the inside of my body, even though I had survived a transplant. Well, I was working out the whole time, trying to build my body back up. Now, the love of my life was basketball. If I could have, I would have played basketball from 7 o'clock in the morning to midnight. I mean, you couldn't get me off the court. Okay? So I'm telling you, I was going to play basketball again. So by mid-1996, I thought, okay, I'm good enough. I am back in shape enough I can play in a tournament. So I joined a men's league, I've been in a tournament, and I go up for a rebound. A guy undercuts me, I come back, land back with my hands on the ground like I've done 1,000 times. Snap, snap, scaphoid fractures. Both hands, same time. Since then, I've had 3 hand specialists. I've had 12 combined surgeries on my hands. And I have been told that I will never be able to work out, never be able to do the things I do, but guess what? I do. Because here's the deal. God gave me a love for exercise, because I believe that is half the reason why I am staying here. We're going to leave this up and get to that in just a minute. But here's the deal. God has a plan that we don't know about sometimes. And through the love of exercise, I'm still here. And for the last 18 years of my life, I have been a personal trainer. So that's what I do. So I've taken that and I've helped people accomplish things that are incredible. Fast forwarding on, 1998, I married the love of my life, the most beautiful, most remarkable, Christ-centered woman I've ever known. You know her as Miss Janda. So God created a miracle that day for me. I never thought I would get married. Okay. Due to all the drugs I was taking, the chemo, the radiation, all those things, I was told I would never be able to have kids, ever. Okay? May 2002. God didn't bless us with 1 twin boys, Andrew and Daniel. 2004, Jan and I are driving. We're in a car on a tire, or we're right off the road. The police report states that we traveled end over end over 300 yards, over 3 football fields. We weren't supposed to survive that. I was lifeline to Mother Francis. Janda was taken by ambulance. We walked away from that accident. I had a severe concussion. Janda broke 4 fingers on her left hand. That was a miracle. But that wasn't the big miracle today. The big miracle was Janda was pregnant, 9 weeks pregnant with our baby girl, who you know as Emily, who is now 12 years old. That was the real miracle that day. So God has been looking out for me the whole time. So basically, I've lived the rest of my life. I'm going through all these different things. And I've had a lot of issues and complications. So to this day, I have pain every single day. I have 30% permanent liver damage that will never get better. They don't know where it's going. The iron content in my blood is so saturated, they say if they took my blood and transfused it into a healthy individual, it would probably kill you. That's how saturated my iron is. And it's causing problems with my liver. And now probably with my kidneys. We'll get to that in just a minute. I'm going to fast forward to May 2016. Now we can show the pictures. May 2016, I have the last surgery I've had on my right hand. If you look at my hand, I know it's hard to see in here, half the bones have been taken out of my hand. I can do some things with my hand, but I've lost use of certain objects. Now, what you're seeing up here is my left hand. I had this done in October of last year. It took all the bones out of my hand. Okay? What you see is a metal plate. And can we show the other one now? This is a solid metal plate. Now, if you look at this, that's the solid metal plate, and all those lines you see in there, those are all screws. That's what holds my hand together. Okay? And after surgery, and I forgot to tell you, I'm left-handed, so I've had to relearn to do a lot of things. Okay? Okay? So, you see how this works. I can move my fingers, and that's it. I cannot do what you would typically do. I can't do this. So I'll never shoot a basketball again with my left hand. I'll never really dribble a basketball with my left hand. The doctors had told me I shouldn't work out. They told me I would never be able to do free weights, never be able to do push-ups and pull-ups because I wouldn't have the strength, for one, and two, my hands don't bend so you can't get in position. Guess what? I do it. And here's the story. 5 months ago, I couldn't do one push-up. And it made me so mad that I dedicated everything I had to doing push-ups. To this day now, 5 months later, I do over 700 push-ups a week, every single week. Okay? I couldn't do pull-ups. I just started working on pull-ups about a month ago. I'm now back up to 8 pull-ups. I will not stop until I get to at least 50 pull-ups. That's where I was before, and that's where I'll be again. It's going to take some time, but I promise you I will do it. Because my life verse is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So no matter what they throw at me, I'm going to come back. That's just the way God made me. You would think that would be enough, but the drama continues. January 2017, I'm sitting at a red light, a traffic light, minding my own business when I am hit from behind by an F-150 going over 70 miles an hour. It hits me so hard that with my foot on the brake, it pushes me completely through the intersection at lunchtime. The first thing the highway patrolman says to me when he gets there, he says, "Son, you are the luckiest man alive." He said, 9 out of 10 times going through this intersection at lunch, you would have been T-boned. Somebody was looking out for me. I didn't walk away free. I lost my car, it's completely totaled. I now have 2 bulging discs and 2 tears. And now I have nerve damage that issues from my back down into my foot. So if I stand in one place for more than 2 or 3 minutes, the pain is so excruciating, it's unbelievable. I now have to take certain medications just to be able to keep the nerves from going crazy. And that gives me brain fog. So sometimes when I lose my train of thought, that's what's happening. So there's always something going on. But here's the real deal. Why does God continue to allow things to happen to me? I really don't know why that happens, but I do know this. God has a plan for my life, and He has a plan for the struggles He gives me in my life. Okay? But here's the deal. I want you to understand something. You get nothing else from this story. None of us here are guaranteed another day in this life. None of us. So most importantly, if you haven't accepted Jesus Christ as your Savior, I would tell you that's the number one thing you need to work on. And I'm not trying to force anything on anybody, but it is the number one thing you should at least ask questions about if you haven't done that. Number 2, I'm telling you, life is fragile. And I'm telling you, if you want to be great at something, you've got to have a plan. And the plan doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to act upon that plan. And the number one thing is most people fail to act upon their plans because of one reason: fear. Fear keeps people from doing those things. But if you have God on your corner, you can overcome anything. So that knocks off the fear part, okay? So real quick, what I want to do, I want to talk to you about this word called tomorrow, okay? If you've ever really thought about the word tomorrow, tomorrow could be the most dangerous word in our vocabulary. And here's the reason. You see, it can be a symbol for hope for some, because you look forward to something. But it can just as easily be the reason why you stay in the same place year after year after year, never going after your dreams, because you always believe you have another tomorrow to go get those dreams. Okay? Now, you're middle school. How many people in here would love to play varsity sports? Okay? How many of you want to be the lead in the drama play? Okay? Now, here's the deal. If you just sit back and do nothing, that's what you're going to get. If you really want to be great at something, you have to act. And this starts now. It doesn't start tomorrow. Like I said, you are not guaranteed tomorrow. You're going to be remembered for what you do today. Okay? Because here's the deal. The last thing you want to do is look back on your life. Like I promise you, I'm 45 years old. The last thing you want to do is look back on your life 10, 15, 20 years down the road and regret that you didn't do something you wanted to do. You didn't jump out of the box and strive to do something you really wanted to do. See, God has a plan for you, and sometimes we got to let that plan work. Because see, if you step out of the box, you're further along than you are right now. And I'm telling you, that is the difference between between I am and I wish I was. So I want to finish real quick with this right here. So I want you to close your eyes for me. Remember, you're not guaranteed another day. And I want you to think for just a second about what I'm about to say. Really think about this. I want you to imagine, if you will, being on your deathbed. And standing around your bed are the ghosts of the ideas, the dreams, the abilities, the talents given to you on loan by God. And there they are standing around looking at you with large angry eyes, saying to you, we came to you and only you could have given us life. Open your eyes. So the burning question is, if you died today, what ideas, what gifts, what abilities, what talents would die with you? Because here, put it back to the original question. Are you truly thankful for what God has given you? Are you truly thankful for your parents, for your teachers, for your school, your abilities, your gifts? It doesn't matter what anybody else says. If you don't believe in yourself first, you're going to have a hard time getting where you want to go. So I'm going to leave you with this statement. You are the only person who can decide how great your tomorrow is going to be. Thank you.